Lichemax loading plays like he's drawn the plan. Kinetik bringing fire like he's leading the band. No matter the game, no matter the sport, we running this pod like it's fourth and short. Press start, locked in, it's game time again. You tune in live to the Sideline Show with Kinetik and Lichemax. Let's go, the Gamer Sideline starts now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gamers Sideline Football Fridays. I am Lichemax. I'm Mike, aka Lichemax. I'm off my game because we have a guest host today, Big T Johnson over here. Say hello to the people.
Hey guys, how's it going?
He is an Oklahoma Sooners fan who agreed to kind of fill in for Kinetik because Kinetik's feeling a little bit under the weather. So I enlisted his help, and here we are. So first off, let's talk about the week 2 games. A lot of things happened. There were some upsets. There were some statements made. Starting off with the USF Florida upset. What are your thoughts on that to start off?
I personally, just looking at them, I think they're one of the few teams that people just don't understand that they can come out and play physical football. They may not be in a Power 4 conference, but they came out and they did all the right things, all the small things. They played together. They played physical. They weren't afraid of big bad Florida in the SEC. They came in and they were ready to go, and they made their defense forced 3 turnovers, and their quarterback is a dual threat. He was making some plays when he couldn't get downfield with the passing game. So I think they just made all the right plays and played like it was just another opponent, and they played confident football.
Right, I think that's a key thing when you're a G5 team going into like these top 25 power team stadiums, or even even when you're playing against them at your home field. You can't look at them as a big scary team from the Power 4. You got to look at them as just another team that you're facing this week. And I think the Bulls exemplified that greatly when they walked onto that field to stare down Florida. Like they didn't falter, they didn't back down. They went out there, they played a good game, they called a good game. I think Florida definitely should be looked at a little bit more closely when it comes to whether or not they should be a playoff contending team. Because that was the talk with them hitting the top 25, as they were meant to be one of the teams contending for a playoff spot. And I think after the loss to USF, there's a good chance they could miss the playoffs. But it is also still early. It's only week 2. But Florida did allow the Bulls quarterback Byram Brown to rush for 89 yards on them, which is crazy. Like, as a power team, how are you going to let a G5 team do that to you? Especially since, and now after the game, UCF or USF has now hit the top 25 at the number 24 spot, and Florida's Billy Napier is under fire after a $500,000 guarantee with the guarantee backfires. Which is crazy. Then we had a statement made on Oklahoma State by the Oregon Ducks. They came out swinging against Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that we're in a day and age of football, college football, where you got to use the portal. Some might think it's not fair. We got NIL, we got the portal. And Oregon has a head coach in Dan Lanning who people want to play football for. When you listen to that guy in the locker room, you play on his defense. When in his Georgia days, he had the best defenses, and then Mike Gundy kind of poured gas on the fire by, mentioning how they spend too much. And you kind of, one of those situations, you don't poke the bear. And all he all he does is play winning football. Like it's a matter of time before he gets a national championship. He's probably a top 3 coach right now in college football. He's a great leader. He commands discipline and hard work on the field from all of his players from top to bottom, and people want to go there and play ball.
Absolutely, and I mean, if you look at especially if you look at the score here, you can tell that team really wanted to make a statement for their coach, putting up 69 points on Oklahoma State and only allowing a field goal. Like that is not something you see a lot. But then again, Oklahoma State is a smaller team in compared to Oregon. So it might have been something that many expected. They may have also expected them to get more points, but at the end of the day, I mean, they walked out on that field thinking that they might have a chance, and Oklahoma State was sorely wrong, as Oregon just came out there and just played 4 quarters of domination on Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, not Oklahoma itself.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely. It's
well,
a physical football like that. When you poke, like I say, you don't poke the bear, and it's notorious. A lot of people have done that to Dan Lanning, even in his Georgia days when Nick Saban said he wasn't worried about their defense, and they shut Saban down in a national championship game. So it's he's a winning football coach. He reminds me a lot, honestly, of Bob Stoops in his younger days. Like he commands winning and greatness, and he's getting it.
so let's talk about almost upset that happened this week. Clemson against Troy. Like that was a crazy game to watch. They were down 16-3 coming into the half, and it ended up pulling out a pretty good recovery, putting up 34 points after the half. But I mean, that was still a in my opinion, if I were Clemson, I'd still be embarrassed letting them get ahead coming out into halftime. Like that's crazy. As a Power 4 team going up against a smaller team, it's crazy to think that like Troy can walk onto the field against Clemson and hold them to only 3 points before the half uh, before the half. That's like what do you think on that?
I I kind of compare it a little bit to some of these young quarterbacks not being utilized right. Like you look at Bryce Underwood, you look at Arch Manning, you look at Klubnik. They don't use him the correct way, in my opinion. He's got a good receiving core. He's got a good couple good running backs that are physical and that can make his life easier. And I think he was put in positions offensively to not really drive the ball downfield. They were just trying to throw haymakers, and it wasn't working. And Troy was getting in the backfield and putting pressure on him, and he kind of had like the happy feet going. He didn't make smart passes, and then even when he tried to use his secondary weapon, which is his feet. They weren't
Right.
smart runs. He was getting hit and brought down easy. So it was almost like the line wasn't in the right positions, and there's a couple times where the running backs didn't pick up the blocks. So it just seemed really off.
And I mean that seems to be like one of the main issues when it comes to like these bigger teams. A lot of them haven't really been thinking about like really developing their players the correct way. It seems because like you have that issue over at Michigan where like our players have been like if you watch that game, it seems like our players were a step behind, but realistically, I mean they've been getting developed. And then you look at this game against Clemson, and you see the same thing where like they're not having that same situational awareness to pick up like the blocks they see on the field. Some of them just letting guys through that they should be holding. But I mean, luckily they were able to rally in the second half and come back. The next thing I want to talk about real quick is that Fresno State Oregon State game. That was crazy, and I think that game also yielded the highlight of the week, in my opinion. Like I don't know if any other highlight out of week 2 compares to this one.
Holding offense, number 64, 10-yard penalty.
It seems to be the common opinion here.
But that is one of the best highlights I think we've gotten out of this week so far. Just
Yeah, that's gonna be something that people are gonna use for years to come for sure.
yeah, and I mean it even sounds staged, even though it wasn't. Just the way that it was picked up so clearly on the ref's microphone, it's crazy, and I think that's definitely going to be remixed and reworked into memes going forward. I could definitely see that. But yeah, that game in and itself had tons of crazy moments. Uh, like it was a crazy game to watch between Oregon State and Fresno. Like Fresno got where it was able to break out for a couple long runs for touchdowns, a couple good passes, but Oregon State was able to fire right back with similar energy. It was a crazy game to watch for sure.
Absolutely. Two teams that aren't really like they're not big teams. Again, it kind of goes back to they did get a couple of nice transfers. They were able to utilize the young players that they had, and they played smart football. They didn't go out trying to throw haymakers. They played their style of football, and that's why it was a competitive game.
I think what was it? Fresno State recently has been moving away from that air raid style that they were using before. Was that Fresno or am I thinking Oregon? Not
Right.
really. What
It
was that?
might be, but I know Oregon's kind of moving away from it as well.
That's what it was. It was Oregon State. Yeah, sorry. I got them confused. Yeah, I mean it's nice to see teams moving away from what isn't working in the when it comes to like the new landscape that we find ourselves in this new era of football. It's like whereas back in the day in certain conferences you could just throw the ball up and 9 times out of 10 it'd be a good play. But with like the higher levels of athleticism that we're seeing in this modern era of football, you can't really do that and expect good results all the time. Which I'm happy to see, like these teams that used to utilize mainly the air raid style and just use their quarterback's arm, starting to incorporate the running back and even some of like the receivers into the run game, even the quarterbacks into the run game now, to kind of give a more unique and not altered but varied approach to moving the ball downfield.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to adjust. Like you can't play basic football and expect the same looks each week.
Right.
That's why film's watched and that's why practice is done. You wanna prepare for the each team's weakness and strength. That way you can utilize it the best way you can on the field.
So as we're moving into the next topic, we do have a Kinetic who seems to be feeling a little bit better. Let's bring him on.
Yeah, a little
Kinetic,
bit. A little bit. How you guys doing?
Good. How
doing
are
all right.
you?
I'm all right. I'm just trying to. Anyways, what are we doing? Where we at?
We're moving into the talked about the top teams from week 2
Gotcha. Uh,
and how they were dominating their opponents, starting with Ohio State and Grambling. That
Scrambling
was
State, dude. It's like
Grambling
Maniac
State,
says, it's Burger King Tech.
right? Yeah, they didn't let them get a single point on the board that entire game. That was just pure domination by the other state.
Guess we need to go ahead and start the printing the national championship T-shirts for Ohio State after that game.
I mean, I think that's definitely what we should start doing because I mean, Julian Sayin threw a nearly perfect game with only missing one pass. He threw for 290 yards, which now, as a side note, I think against a team like Grambling State, 290 yards is a little low, in my opinion. I think
Right.
that's not what you should see against a team like Grambling when you have what is supposed to be like the most elite of elite quarterbacks in college football today, as would be said by Ohio State. And he only got 4 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't watch the Ohio State game. It was going to be a slaughter either way. It was like a
Right.
guaranteed win. So
I mean, they only put up 70 points on them. That's also crazy.
Right.
The
I
next
think
one we. Oh, you go ahead.
I was gonna say I think from what the small part of it that I saw is they tried to, obviously Sand did his thing, which I'm still not sold on. Um, but they tried to establish the run game to see who's going to be that dominant 25 to 30 carry run guy for him going into the meat of the season. And it just, again, and like you said, it's gambling. Like I'm not sold yet.
Right.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know
I
how
mean,
much we can actually take away from that game. I mean, it was a payday for Grambling State. It was Ohio State doing their best SEC team impression with their out of conference scheduling. There's not really much to take from that.
next
It's
one we
just a
got is
bunch of
Penn State.
stats for them to try to pad for Jeremiah Smith's Heisman campaign.
The next one we got is Penn State against Nevada.
Yeah, I didn't watch that one. I honestly, again, it's Nevada at Penn State.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Penn State got 46 got scored 46 points. Nevada only got 11, and then we got LSU, who showed some early sloppiness, but were able to pull the win out over Troy in a 38-21 victory.
I guess I should probably, since we're not talking NFL, I should change my background, shouldn't I?
Yeah, and then I guess that really covers like a lot of the top teams, and we got Georgia, but that's again was a cupcake. I mean, yeah. So I mean, moving into like the emerging teams, we got teams that came in unranked who are now ranked, which is something that like you don't see a lot, especially seeing a G5 team as we talked about earlier with USF coming into Florida unranked and leaving as number 24. We also got who else we got?
It's like
We got a
Mississippi
lot.
State.
Yeah,
They went into Arizona State, and I mean, honestly, with how well Arizona State played last season and bringing back most of their guys from that playoff run team, I was shocked with how underwhelming they played.
Yeah, but if you go
right.
back and look at their team from last year, Cam Scatabo was their team.
Absolutely,
He did
absolutely.
everything. He ran the ball. He caught passes. He did kickoff returns. Like, he did everything for that team. And it's not any hate towards Sam Levitt, but like Scatabo was their one and only weapon, and it was a fucking howitzer. But he's gone.
Kind of like
Yeah.
this season with South Carolina and Nick Harbor. Like they got Nick Harbor, and that's just about it. If you don't count the quarterback in Sellers, like if you're just looking at the weapon Sellers has to throw to, he's got Harbor. That's about it.
I mean, and with the Florida State, or I mean, sorry, Florida USF one, I think it was okay. So first off, I mean, USF is by far like one of the better G5 teams this year. Anyway, like that was already kind of known. But I think the game itself was more a referendum on like sloppy, undisciplined play from Florida. Like the little bit that I've seen in the highlights from that game, it seemed like there were a lot of penalty yards, that unnecessary penalties by Florida, and just sloppy play.
Yeah, I watched a good chunk of it, and one thing I saw, and again, like I was telling Lichemax, there is you're seeing some of these younger quarterbacks, Arch Manning, Bryce Underwood, DJ Lagway. They're so talented, but they're not being utilized right, and that's kind of what I saw. And I was telling him I'm surprised that Napier's still employed there, to be honest.
Well, and they've got a good defensive coordinator, and I think their defense actually ranks pretty high, like nationally. So if you go into a game like that underestimating a G5 team that has a defense that's that good, and then you play that sloppy, like that's the recipe for an upset.
Yeah, because there was plays where Bynum was like, I mean, the ball wasn't even within reach, and they were making unnecessary pass interference or contact early, holding. This, like you said, sloppy defense, especially in the secondary. But it's again like when you have a great talent at quarterback, Lagway can be great. I still haven't seen them utilize him like I feel like he would showcase his true skills.
Yeah, Florida's got talent, like, and not in any way to try to like talk bad about him. Like Lagway, I think is going to be a star. They've got some receivers that I really like. That guy Mizell, I don't know how you say his name, but
I don't know either.
he's
I
really
think it's
good.
like
They've got some really good, a couple really good running backs. But like, and I say this as a Michigan fan, so maybe I'm a little jaded on this view, but their trench play was horrible on both sides. Their offensive line, defensive line just was that's where the problem was.
Agreed.
And
Yeah.
and like from my perspective as a Michigan fan, that's where the games are won and lost. That's why for the last 4 years we've been able to beat a team in Ohio State on paper that is more talented than us because we beat them in the trenches. And if you go back and look at the stat sheet from the Florida game, but more so, like I said, I didn't watch the whole game, but I seen some clips and highlights. The line play just looked bad from Florida.
They did. They were getting blown off the ball. Run plays where you got to stay low and fire off. They were getting stood up and just pushed back. And it's like you said, like the South Florida's defensive line, they ran a lot of stunt. I saw a couple stunts where they got to Lagway and pressured him to make bad decisions, and they ran a lot of different unique schemes defensively to put pressure on him to make him make poor throws or try to run when he didn't need to. And it again, like you said, up front, you got those front 5, 6, or 7. That's going to determine how the game's going to go.
Right.
Yeah, I did have some high hopes for Lagway going into that game. I thought he was going to perform much better than he did, but that might have just been due to like a lot of the hype that was surrounding Lagway coming into this season. Just kind of like how we had like what we had for a lot of the other like most talked about quarterbacks like Sayin, Bryce, Mateer, Sellers. Like they like all like them and Lagway are all in the same kind of conversation when we were entering into the season of like what we want to like of expecting to see great things out of them, and then we hit the season and like it's been kind of a mixed bag so far.
Yeah, I mean, talent wise and like ceiling wise, I think Lagway is definitely like top 3 quarterback in the SEC. But whether or not that'll be realized, I mean, that requires coaching, offensive line, his weapons, offensive coordinator to all to be on the same page, and it didn't look like it this week.
Right. Now let's get to the main event of the show. Well, I guess second main event of the show. The marquee matchup of this week, Oklahoma, last week, not this week, Oklahoma and Michigan. Like Oklahoma ended up getting the victory. Michigan looked pretty sloppy, in my opinion, on both sides of the ball. Specifically, the freaking screen passes that did make no sense at all. Like if you are sitting at 3rd and 13, the two things you should not do are A, throw a screen pass, and B, run the ball. Those two things should not be in a 3rd and 13 situation. They shouldn't even be in a 3rd and 6 situation. An argument can be made for running the ball in 3rd and 6 if you got a really good line and running back. I might understand that. We assumed we did have a decent line. We knew we had a good running back. We knew we had 2 good running backs. One of them looked sloppy out there, while Haynes looked amazing, even though he didn't get the yards that we all thought he would get on Oklahoma. But Oklahoma played a really good defense. You could tell that they were prepared for us. We came in that game looking like we weren't prepared at all, like we didn't do any homework. In my opinion, I think we ended up getting year 1 wink on defense. But that's my opinion. That's what it looked like because it took him an entire half of the game to figure out he needed to put a spy out there. And when he puts a spy out there, he immediately abandons the spy concept altogether until like the 4th quarter, where he then puts another spy out. And both times he did that, it worked flawlessly. and then he just abandons it completely. Now, Oklahoma, to their credit, they have a good dual threat quarterback who was trusted that when he saw a play to make a play and even to run the ball on his own. But then again, Oklahoma does have a decent backup in Hawkins or Hawk, Mike Hawk. Is it Hawkins or Hawk?
Hawkins, yeah.
Hawkins. Yeah, they got a decent backup in Hawkins, whereas to our backup is Jaden Daniels, which we're not, or Jaden Davis, I think what it is, who is we kind of have a question mark on. We're not sure entirely if he's good or not. 'Cause we haven't really seen him play. We've seen him in practice, I think, but we haven't actually seen him on the field. And we also have Mikey Keene, but Mikey Keene's still recovering from an injury. So we really didn't have a decent backup if anything happened to Bryce. So it seemed like we called a safe game when I don't think we necessarily had to, in my opinion. I think we could have told Bryce that if he saw a play, make a play, you know. But
So
I'm gonna turn it over to y'all. What do y'all think?
So I can tell you, okay. According to Isaiah Hole, there is some not strife or anything, but just some people on the staff that are not on the same page as far as play calling goes. I think Sharon is play calling to protect Bryce and not get him hurt more than he is to win games. There are things that Chip Lindsey has implemented into the offense over the offseason that we haven't even seen in games yet. The things that we have seen from Chip Lindsey's offense are very simple, very easy, very safe plays, like the bubble screens and stuff like that. I am a huge Sharon Moore supporter. I think he's off base on this. He's handcuffing Chip Lindsey. He's handcuffing Bryce Underwood. And it's not working. It can work. He's trying to do what he did with JJ because they didn't trust the backups that JJ had. That's why they never let JJ run. Like he said before that JJ always wanted to run and he had to tell him, no, don't run. He's doing the same thing to Bryce. And that works when you have a veteran team that's been together for 3 or 4 years that have all developed up and are immensely talented. And what I mean by that is it's like 22 or 24 players so far from the 2023 National Championship team have been drafted into the NFL. Okay?
Yeah.
When you're playing with a team like that, it's easy to get out to a win, to a lead, even a small lead, and to sort of grind out the game. The 2023 team was routinely called a boa constrictor. They would just squeeze and squeeze and squeeze until they win. You don't have the team around Bryce to do that. So let Bryce play ball. Like you brought him there for a reason. You brought Chip Lindsey in for a reason. It doesn't make any sense to go into the game with Oklahoma so unprepared to allow them to do what you brought them there for.
Right. One thing I can say, being an Oklahoma fan, is I expected a physical game, and I felt like for the most part that was there. I was kind of shocked by Michigan not bringing more pressure. Like I thought, honestly, they would bring the house more or run some stunts. With that front seven, like I'm not gonna lie, I was terrified. I'm like, man, they get material, it's gonna hurt. And I think it helped with your number one. I keep forgetting his name. He was out. That obviously helped in the first half. We didn't really have to worry too much about him making the plays that he can make. But I think both teams came in, wanting a physical game. I do think Bryce Underwood, some of the plays that he made, like some of those rollouts when he was throwing dots, I was like, oh my God, this kid's got an arm. But he definitely was not utilized the way I personally would have loved to see him utilized. Like let him run, let him throw slants, let him, do some RPO, like let him use his mind. He's the number one quarterback for a reason. And I do think the coaching did definitely handicap him. But then you go to the flip side with Oklahoma, you look at Arbuckle, the guy's coached great everywhere he's been. And you look at Mateer, he gives vibes of Baker Mayfield, in my opinion. He wants to play and win. He don't have to pass for 400 yards. He can go out and run it 15 times. And he's going to take punishment and get up. It just reminds me a lot of Baker, but I do think I would love to see you guys again down the road if both teams do well and get in the playoffs, because I do think it would be a totally different matchup, more physical. Both teams will know each other. But I do not think personally that we got the best version of Michigan that I wanted to see as an OU fan. I'll take the win, obviously, but I wanted to see the best version of Michigan, and I'm extremely nervous about next year going to the Big House. I'm not gonna lie.
So
Yeah,
I do have a
and
question. Real quick. I do have a question. So when your team was getting all of those penalties and helping us drive up the field, was this your reaction?
Holding offense, number 64. 10-yard penalty.
I I'm not gonna lie. There was a couple times I think it was a pass interference when Bryce actually threw a good ball to is it McCauley? Is that his
yeah,
name?
Yeah.
McCullough.
And I was like, oh my god, that could have went for 6. Like everyone's like, no, it wouldn't have. I'm like, if he kept streaking, kept going down the field, that would have went for 6. But yeah, some of the it's like that in every game. Some of the penalties are just some of them are BS, but some of them are like, oh, why did you do that? Like that was a good play. Why did that
Like
happen?
like I will say, you guys did your best job to try to help us win that game. We just couldn't capitalize on it.
Yeah, I think there was one drive you guys got 30 to 35 yards in penalties, and I'm sitting here like we had them stopped. 3rd and 9, 3rd and 11, and then holding or I think we refed your guys' punter.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah, that was a fourth. That was a fourth, and I think that was a 4th and 13.
And I was just gonna say, just also one thing to keep in mind about Bryce. He has the ability to be a running quarterback like Vince Young, Cam Newton, but he's not a running quarterback. Like he is more of the pocket passer. He just has that ability. So
yeah, absolutely.
I do think that, a lot of people looked at that game last week and they're like, well, they ran Mateer. Why didn't we run Bryce? I think Mateer is much more of a running quarterback than Bryce is. And again, it's weird because I don't think I've ever seen somebody that has the type of running ability that Bryce has, but it's not the primary direction of his game.
Right.
That's what makes Bryce so special. But I wouldn't expect to do a lot of design called runs for him. His ability is more going to be a change of pace, catch the defense off guard with it, and then be able to run when the play breaks down. But that's what we're handcuffing. I don't think us not calling design quarterback runs was a mistake. I don't think that was part of the handcuffing that I'm talking about.
I think the handcuffing comes from when not only just the play calling itself, from the way they were calling the game, but also I think and I've made this statement on Bay's Madman's podcast. Um, I think like they told him not to run, and I think that was a mistake. Not just don't run like a read option play. I mean it seemed like they told him not to run, and I don't know if it was just to challenge Bryce or to protect him, but in my opinion, I think that was a bad call from a coaching standpoint, because you want to you have to have some trust in your quarterback, especially with someone as athletic as Bryce is. I think if you told him if you see a play, make a play, that would have gone over so much better, because there were a couple plays in that game where you could see Bryce see an open lane, see an open running lane that he could have taken to get a first down, but then you see his head snap back downfield looking for someone to throw the ball to, even to his detriment, which ended up happening a couple times, where he had an escape route, but he ended up getting sacked instead because it seemed like he was being told, "Don't run, don't run, don't run," and you could kind of see it. It kind of looked like that in his confliction of seeing the open lane, wanting to hit it, but also not wanting to upset the coach.
Right. I think a lot of people got to understand also, like, this is college football. Like, he did a lot of running in high school. I mean, that's the high school ranks. Like, he's playing big time college football against big time talent, and he's got a heck of an arm. That's not even fully there yet. Like, people got, he's gonna be a great quarterback. He's just gonna keep getting better. There's no backslide, in my opinion. Just from watching, even though he missed some throws, those were good throws. But I do think, having the 1-2 punch back there with him and Haynes, once the coordinators and the coaching let them figure that out, they're going to be tough to beat. I was talking to a bunch of buddies at work, and I was telling them that I don't see you guys losing another game if one. And that's not just me saying it because I'm on your podcast here. I I can see the potential there, and I think both teams have yet to play their best ball, even Oklahoma.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I just hope it doesn't take Wink till game 8 to actually click in his defense again.
He definitely has to trust his defense because you guys, I mean, I think it was Kinetik that I was listening to one of your guys' podcast a couple of days ago or a couple of days before the OU game, and you guys are returning so much talent from that national championship team, and Wink he's got to trust him. He's got to let him like dial up some blitz, do some stunts. Like that front seven alone can put so many offenses in trouble to where your guys' secondary is just going to be back there ball hawking.
Right.
So I disagree with a lot of people that with their critiques on Wink for this last game. I'm not saying he shouldn't be critiqued, but I think they're looking at it the wrong way, and I think it's partially because of last year. Because last year the issue was Wink had been in the NFL for 20 years since he had been in college. He was used to playing. I brought this up this time last year. He was used to coaching veterans, like 7-10 year veterans at the NFL level, who on their worst day were the best player in at least their conference, let alone their team when they played in college. If he needed people to get concepts and be able to adapt and adjust on the fly in a play, he could trust them to do that. Coming to college after 20 years away, am I being choppy and stuff on your guys' end, or is it just on my side?
It's just on your side.
Okay.
It started to there towards the end a little bit, but it's mostly on your side.
Okay, but that was the problem last year. Then you look at the interviews that he's done and some of the players have done since, and it was a conflict between him and the players equally, because while it's the same system, it's slightly different. Like the players that won the national championship team had been taught the system from Mike McDonald and Jesse Minter, who were proteges of Wink Martindale's on the Ravens. They had been successful under Jesse Minter's version, right? Winning the national championship. Wink has been successful winning Super Bowls with his version of it. So when he came in, he had a different way of doing some things, and there was a little bit of a clash and butting heads between him and the players because they had on both sides had success doing things their way. So there was a lot of things where early on, and this is from one of the players, I forget which player offhand, said it on a podcast with Isaiah Hole, that was it Isaiah Hole or Sam Webb? I forget which one, but said like openly, like we butted heads for a few weeks because there were times where he would call certain things in a game or on a play, and we would look around and be like, okay, but why? We've done it like this before, and so we would just do it the way we had done before. And then there was like this moment where they kind of got on the same page with each other late in the season. So a lot of people were looking at what happened this last week and looking back at what happened early last season, specifically with the Texas game, and started to think that Wink was reverting back to that. But if you really go back and look at this last week, the problems he had last year with the play calling and the putting the personnel in positions that they weren't uh, mature enough in their football experience to be able to utilize and adjust, such as rolling Mason Graham out to the edge and just doing like exotic looks like that. That in the NFL with 8 year vets it works, but in college it doesn't. That's not what he was doing. He wasn't leaving his DBs on an island in bad situations to go zero blitz. The problem that he was having was more the things that you can coach up during the week with college players: missing tackles, bad angles, getting, biting on double moves, stuff like that, or just not switching your assignments as much. And yes, that's on coaching, but it's more on the players than say it was last year when Wink was having his struggles. On top of that, I think that the offense did not put the defense in favorable positions much of the game. So I'm not saying Wink should be free from criticism for this last game, but I think people are looking back at last year and taking the wrong angle on what they're criticizing him for on this game.
It's definitely a buy-in. I agree with that. You got to buy into the new coaching style. Like, so everyone coaches different, but if you don't buy into what works, whether you agree with it or not, then it's going to be a problem on the field when it's ready to play.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. But I mean, like me, when I was looking at the way he was calling the plays itself, I think that's kind of where I get to where like I think we're seeing year one Wink, just because like it took him like an entire half to figure out he needed to put a spy out, and then when he did, he immediately abandoned it once it worked, and then he did it again in like I think it was the fourth quarter. He put a spy out there, it worked, and then he immediately abandoned it again. And I understand like not wanting to like do the same things each play, but like at the same point, you have to understand who you're facing. Like you're facing Mateer, who throughout the game has shown he's gonna run if he sees an open lane. He's gonna take off. Like if you cover their targets, Mateer's gonna take off. And if you don't have anyone covering Mateer, he's gonna get yards like he did. Except for when we had spies out there. That's the only times we actually held him up. Like there were also a lot of missed sacks that should have been avoidable. But if you look at the game as a whole, a lot of the yards resulted because we didn't have a spy on Mateer, especially after we've seen the kind of athleticism that he does possess, and we didn't really do much about it.
Well, and also like this is something that I think has been brought up multiple times on other shows. I think Joel Klatt brought it up. Someone else brought it up. Again, the offense. We were okay. Why did Tennessee's offense do so good against Oklahoma last year, against the Brent Venables defense? It was because they spread the field out so wide that Venables wasn't able to disguise a lot of his coverages, right? When you spread the field out and it's and you've got the defenders, they all have to spread out to their matchups to not be caught out of position. For whatever reason, Michigan ran too many condensed formations where that made it so Venables could then put 6, 7, 8 guys in the box and not have to show any of what his coverages were going to be. And I think that's a mistake with a true freshman quarterback who you're trying, generational as he may be, you're trying to get him up to speed on the college game. The last thing you want to do is make it harder for him to read and diagnose a defense.
See, I think we should have ran a little like some more like spread sets and empty sets. I think that would have helped out Bryce a lot more than running all those compressed sets that we did run. It's like it's been said by I think it's Ben Kirk that empty is the quarterback's best friend because, like you said, it spreads out the defense and reveals what kind of coverage they're sitting in because it makes it extremely hard to disguise the coverage, especially if you have like 5 receivers out.
Right. I think also people got to realize Oklahoma's on a revenge tour season. Like the last year was this And one thing I hate hearing from Sooner fans, oh, we were hurt this, next man up. Like we got to have that mentality, next man up. Yeah, it impacted the game, but some of these games that we lost, it, the way that the offense was ran was very nonchalant, basic, like almost scared. And I've never been sold on Jackson Arnold. He's doing okay right now in Auburn, but I'm still not sold on him. Like I told everyone, 5-star doesn't always translate to 5-star work ethic and 5-star play. Like, yeah, you earned it in the college, the high school ranks, but are you gonna be able to carry it over? And I do think Bryce is a generational talent. I think Arch Manning can be a generational talent. He's not there yet, but again, I think once he gets fully comfortable, I mean, he just played his second college game. Once he gets comfortable and plays big time football, makes big time plays, gets that confidence, people got to watch out because I don't like using the H word, but I do think he can easily get into the Heisman discussion if they keep building around him and he keeps doing his thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I could definitely see it. I can also see seeing Mateer enter into the talks of for Heisman, especially after the Michigan game. I mean, it might be like small talks, just like in passing, but I could definitely see it because like we did kind of help make his case when it comes to applying for the Heisman Trophy, with how that game went because we just kind of let him do what he wanted, which is something we definitely can't do when it comes time to face up against Ohio State.
Yeah, I said that's going to be you guys were and are going to be the toughest defense we play all year. Like I know we didn't get your best, and I wish we could have, but I I think that was a good test for Oklahoma, and they have work to do. We can't overthrow. We can't try to force balls and get picked off. We got to develop a run game right now. Our best run game is Mateer, and in the SEC, he's not gonna be able to handle and sustain 15, 20 carries getting hit by all these talented linebackers and defensive linemen that are going to be spying on him. Because I guarantee you, they watch the game and they're like, "Why are we not? Why are they not spying him? Why are they not doing this?" And they're going to use that as film in the future. But OU's got to come up with a running back that can go 20 to 30 carries a game. And I'm really hoping Orr breaks out. And I don't know if he's injured. I don't really know what's going on, but hopefully they can get him going, get some rhythm going, so we can really see how true the offense can get to or be, and how well they can get to each game, because that's going to be our kryptonite. We gotta move the ball, long sustained drives, no turnovers. Chip away at it 4, 5, 6 yards. If we have great plays, go for them. Yes, but that's one thing that we did a lot last year with Arnold and even Hawkins is we would force the play, and it didn't need to be forced. Like we had a play, we had a 5-yard play, we had an 8-yard play. We didn't need to go for 50 and throw the interception or try to run it and scramble and hold the ball like it's a loaf of bread and fumble. Like none of that needed to happen. So a lot of the times, year after year, OU likes to be their own worst enemy, and it can bite them because teams are going to take advantage of that. The expectation every year for Oklahoma is to compete at a high level, try to compete for a conference championship and get into the playoff. But we're in my opinion, we're still not there. We've got a lot of work to do.
Right. And I mean, I made a joke the other day because I agree with you with Mateer. I made a joke the other day that with Lichemax that if Mateer wins the Heisman, it should be Wink Martindale that presents it to him, since he sort of started his Heisman campaign for him. But it does worry me, like trying to do that against SEC teams week in, week out. And all I heard all off season was how great y'all's transfer running back Jaden Ott was. And then when he was listed third on the depth chart week one, I remember I was on a podcast with over at Really Flawed Football, and she had people on from different show or different fan bases, and there was someone from Oklahoma, and I asked him, I said, what's going on? Is there something wrong there? And he assured me, he was like, no, it's just week one. It's just we're not starting all of our primary starters week one. It doesn't mean anything. But
I
he
think
wasn't
there's
really
something
like
there
the
for
feature
sure.
back. He wasn't really the feature back in week two either.
Right. If you watch his lone carry he had in week one, he got up like favoring his hamstring. So something's there. I'm not saying that it is the case, but I mean he got up slow. So I mean nothing's been announced. I think they're trying to get him to play through it, but we got Xavier Robinson, we have Torrey Blaylock, we have Javante Barnes, who could be a physical running back. We gotta utilize the guys we have until we get Ott ready, because you saw what he did at California. Yes, it's not against superior defenses like he's going to see now, but the kid can be a special player. But something, in my opinion, I don't know, but something's definitely up injury wise. I feel like, and that's why they're kind of holding him back.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see like later in the season if he is actually like if he is still injured, I could see later in the season where he becomes a huge issue for the teams that you guys play, because he does have that athleticism to be able to make a like the kind of runs you guys are looking for, like 20, 30 yards at a time. I can see him getting that, but I, if he is actually injured, which I don't know for sure, I haven't really kept up much, but if he is, then you definitely don't want to be playing him until he's healthy, because
Exactly.
you don't want to have that kind of a talent get uh, get spoiled because you played him too early and ended up having him miss a season.
Yeah, I'd
Right.
much rather have him debut with Texas healthy than risk him getting out there and tearing a hamstring or tearing a quad or whatever's going on. Like I said, I haven't seen him on the injury report, and I'm not sure if that's like a strategy on Venable's part or not. But
I mean,
we need him to go deep in the season. We definitely need him.
yeah, I mean, it could be a thing like kind of like what we had with what was it, Mikey Keene, where I don't think he's on the injury report, but we still have him out. But then again, Mikey Keene isn't our secret weapon.
Right.
It's kind of like your guys is. If he is injured, then you guys probably don't want to broadcast that if you can help it, so
I
that way
got
teams.
I got to
That,
also shout out one of the biggest offseason moves for us was moving Kinetik from linebacker to tight end. Man, he's embraced that role and he looks good.
yeah,
Yeah.
he did a lot of good work against us.
Yeah. Like did he start game one at tight end, or was game two his
Yeah,
first game?
he got the starting position like the last couple weeks of practice. They just said work ethic and making all the right plays that they trusted him to be out there.
He was out there against us. I think he was one of the couple passes that Mateer hit was to Kanik.
He had a great block in Mateer's second touchdown run on that option read. He had a great block on number one. Like I don't number one wasn't ready for it because he's kind of skimmied back behind the lineman and then just kind of blocked him and almost flat backed him. But it definitely threw him off course because he would have smoked Mateer if Kanik wasn't there for sure. He was ready. He had the right angle and everything. I was like, oh my god, I hope someone's there.
I think the number
So
one on our defense is Barham, isn't it?
yeah. I just can't remember his name, but
Oh,
I watched him. I watched him often last year, and in obviously in the off season they talked about him a lot with the pending matchup that Venables even before the season kicked off. You know he mentioned that having to plan for a guy like that just it's almost borderline difficult because he'll make plays anywhere. He chase you down, he'll hit you. He doesn't care. He's just like in a good way a reckless player. He just wants to go out there and play football.
yeah. But one thing I do want to see, I want to see the nickname Headhunter Barham I want to see that take off.
Yeah. Well, you guys got introduced to Money Mateer, so how was that?
Moneyline materials. I
Yeah,
don't think Wink was ready for that.
yeah. Again,
I,
like a respect to you guys. Like I heard, I have a lot of buddies that were at the game, and you guys' fan base was awesome. Respectful, nice, and
yeah,
then on top of that, just the the second ever meeting, and then we play again next year. It'll be a respectful game, but Michigan's gonna have this one in the back of their minds, and they're gonna be with a Bryce that's gonna be even more dangerous than what he already is. So
yeah, if he's gonna be on his home field, I will say you guys didn't get our best this season, like you were saying, but I think next season, I think that'll be a totally different, especially since Bryce will be on year 2, and he'll have that much more experience and more trust with the coaches to be able to go out there and play. I think
right,
you're going to start seeing a little bit more of that as the season goes on. You're going to see them letting Bryce make more and more of his own decisions, and less handicapping, and less handcuffing on Bryce as he gains more trust with the coaches when it comes to like his decision making on the field. So I think if you keep watching Michigan football, you're going to see some great things out of Bryce.
I saw Jesse Palmer made a comment, and I almost lost my mind over it, but he was mentioning how, someone mentioned, Desmond Howard mentioned that, Michigan will have that one in the back of their mind and be ready to go as they go, and especially that game next season in the Big House. And he said that's if Bryce is even there, with the portal. I'm like, you're crazy. Like there's no way he's leaving Michigan like that. And then he was the big influence of you guys getting that. I can't remember his name, the number one running back that'll be coming in next year. So, people want to play with Bryce. So that's what I'm saying. If anything, you guys will pick up, guaranteed, you guys will pick up receivers or tight ends or running backs in the portal. It's not recruiting. That'll just make him better and more of a dangerous weapon to that way he can initiate his true skill sets. Like Kinetik said there, people want to see him run. Sure, he can make the run if he needs to, but people are underestimating the kid's pocket poise, and it's not there yet. People haven't seen it yet. He's got it, and when he unleashes it, people are going to be like, "Holy cow!"
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm excited to see what Bryce does moving forward into the year. I know a lot of fans are, especially with how much we had to pay to steal him from LSU. But I mean, then again, he did always want to go to Michigan. I think that's something a lot of people, when they do talk about that fact, don't take into account. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing him see what he becomes in the Michigan system moving forward. So with that, let's look to this week 3. We got, I think one of the big ticket ones, other than is the Tennessee Georgia game. I think that's going to be an interesting one, especially with how much of a tear Tennessee has been on this season so far, and they're coming up against like the power team in Georgia. What are you guys' thoughts? Who do you think comes out between Tennessee and Georgia?
I
I
think.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, go ahead. You're good. My bad.
No, I was just gonna say I think this is gonna be a game that really sort of it's really going to tell us what each team is made of. I think that there's a lot of questions about Georgia and Kirby Smart, despite having won championships. Like he still has issues with Bama. He still loses games he shouldn't. So a lot of it's going to be who is Georgia this year? Are they going to be back to top of the SEC? Or are they going to keep doing what they've been doing up to this point? And Tennessee, there's a lot of questions here. How good is Joey Aguilar? How good is this team really after the offseason disruption with Nico and all of that, and the having to bring in Aguilar last second to take his place? Like recruiting doesn't seem to have slowed down for either one. Both teams are immensely talented. So. But like, are they what we think they are this year? And I think this game's gonna expose any inadequacies on both sides.
I agree with that, and I think I think if you look at the offseason, like a lot of people point to, oh man, losing Nico was rough. I think Tennessee won that one. Like you just see how Nico's playing and with the Bruins. Uh, Again, probably not in the best system for him, but because you can tell head and shoulders he's regressed. We don't know if that's his skill set or if it's just the system he's in. But Aguilar was making some passes and some plays that where like you look at it and like, okay, he's going to be a problem, because they have good receivers, they have a good running backs. Their offensive line is one of the biggest offensive lines in the SEC. If you look at their height and weight, they're big dudes, and I think they're going to pose a problem. But like I was telling Lichemax there is that the two teams that I called before the season started that were going to be problems was USF and Tennessee, and I think this week will show that. So
Absolutely. I mean, one thing I've noticed is when it comes.
Did we lose him?
I don't know.
I think we might have lost Lichemax there.
Oh man,
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
All right. So I think when it comes to, oh yeah, I know why that happens. It's because I lock my screen and then it locks the whole thing out. Anyway, when it comes to like the fact that Tennessee lost Nico to the Bruins, I don't think it's been that huge of a hit on them, especially when you look at how they've been playing. They've been playing really well as of late, especially in their the game they played this past week. I mean, they had a lot of really good plays, a lot of long passes, a lot of just they did really good, and then they to start the season off they absolutely laid the lumber down on their first week's opponent. So I mean I could see the game going either way. I if I had to put if I had to guess which team I think is going to come out on top, I would have to say I think Tennessee's going to edge out Georgia in this week's game.
I think it's going to fall on who's going to play whose ball. Like, are we going to look at Tennessee's fast-paced offense, where they're putting up 700 yards of offense? Probably not going to see that much, but if they get their brand of football going where they're scoring quick and then their defense gets turnovers, it's going to be a long day for Georgia. But on the flip side, if Georgia can figure out how to utilize Stockton the best, because he is a true runner, he's one of those guys. He reminds me a lot of Tebow. He can get in there, lower his shoulder, and run over a safety like it's nothing. But I still think he's one of the five quarterbacks, that are young that they still haven't been utilized properly, and I think that's going to be Georgia's downfall because they're kind of in a way like Michigan. They got a veteran team. They've had playoff runs. They brought a lot of guys back. They got some good transfers, so I think they're going to be a problem.
I can definitely see that for sure, and I think having that dual threat quarterback and having the team use him correctly is going to be a huge key to the to that game between Tennessee and Georgia.
Right. I think I'm not a big fan of Gunnar Stockton. I actually kind of like Joey Aguilar more than I do Stockton, so I'm going to go with Tennessee. I also like Tennessee's offense as much as I don't like it in the sense that I don't think it prepares kids for the NFL or translates to the NFL. Just purely as a college offense, I enjoy it.
Yeah, that like I said, that fast paced ball. Those RPO screens, slants, slot fades. Wheel routes, all that different stuff. Wheel routes with their running back. Like they run, Heupel is a, offensive genius, whether people want to admit it or not. There's no doubt about that. He can, he's coached well at UCF. He's done well with Tennessee. I do think that they got to, in a way, got to play some type of bully ball though, because if they don't get turnovers or put pressure on Georgia plays their brand of football where they're bullying them. It can be ugly.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about Let's talk about Oklahoma Temple. Do you think Temple has a chance?
Absolutely. No, absolutely not. Uh, um, I think if Oklahoma goes in and obviously cleans up the stuff like you said, Mateer throwing that interception in game one against a cupcake team like that was this. It was 100% on him. It was a bad ball. We can't have that, and we can't turn the ball over. But this week we have to establish who's going to be our dominant running back, whether it's Ott, Robinson, Barnes. Once we get that and then tailor it to what we already know will work with Mateer's game, I think Oklahoma's going to be a problem. Like I still, until proven wrong, I think they're going to be a playoff team.
I
I
can.
think they're a playoff team if you can stay healthy. Like if you
Exactly.
stay healthy all year, yeah. But it just I don't know how if you keep running material like you did this last week in week out against the type of teams that you're going to play. I don't know if you're going to make it to playoffs
And
healthy.
and that's what I was telling some of the guys down here is like, listen, at Washington State, some of the runs he did were, I mean, all his runs they're smart for the most part, but he wasn't taking hits he's about to take. He goes up the middle like that and meets a 260-pound linebacker, headhunting him. It's going to be a long day, or a 330-pound defensive tackle that just lands on his ribs. Yeah, he hasn't experienced that type of adversity yet. At Washington State, if you watch a lot of his film, there's a reason why he had the yards he had is because A, he's fast, B, he's shifty, and C, he was smart with it. But I did notice a couple times against you guys, he was paying the price, whether he's getting landed on or getting caught up in a pile, and he won't sustain that the rest of the year. You're right. But that's what I'm saying. They gotta get a running back in there that can handle 25 to 35 carries, whether it's one or two running backs combined, and take some pressure off of Mateer so he can actually throw the ball.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big key for you guys is it's figuring out who's going to be a running back going forward. Because if you just keep using Mateer as your quarterback and your running back, you guys will be rocking with Hawkins the second half of the season.
Oh yeah.
And then, and I think I know the answer to this, but Michigan CMU, we know that Michigan's going to win. It's kind of a given that Michigan's going to win. Upsets do happen, but not with Michigan against smaller teams. So I think what we have to ask ourselves when it comes to Michigan versus CMU is, does do they open up the offense for Bryce, or do they keep it as safe and locked down as they had it for the Oklahoma game?
They got to open it up. Like you got to get some rhythm with him because he's one of those, like you guys said, he's a generational quarterback, more generational than Arch Manning, and I'll argue that all day with anybody. I watched Bryce several times on TV. In high school, watching how shifty he is and the arm that he has. He can make plays that most quarterbacks that are juniors or seniors right now can't even make, and they got to get that rhythm going. Let him throw the ball. Let him face some adversity. Let him make plays where he's not feeling like, oh man, I'm handcuffed. I can't run because coach said not to. Like if I need to run, I will. But obviously we want to see. It's not going to be a test for him, but it's a chance for them to really find out the true supporting cast that Michigan has. You have Haynes. Are you guys getting your tight end back?
As far as I know, we're getting Marlon Klein back. I haven't heard a lot on him, but yeah, and that was the other thing. Like we knew Marlon Klein was not going to be be able to play most likely. I mean, he traveled with the team, but I think they knew at least a few days ahead of time they might not be without him. And a lot of Michigan's passing play calls felt like they were designed for Klein to be the check down, and he wasn't. And it didn't make any sense personnel wise because like all offseason as Michigan fans, what we heard was that Klein was the more athletic one, but that as far as pass catching, we got a guy named Hogan Hansen that supposedly was the best pass catching tight end we had, and we were told how he was going to show out this year as well. Well, if we don't have Klein at Oklahoma, and we have plays designed for a pass catching tight end, why were we putting Zach Marshall out there instead of Hogan Hansen? Like that didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
And I mean,
that's
and also, if that's the case, why are we not having Bryce practice with both Klein and Hansen? Because like
exactly.
a couple of the throws that he did, like if Klein was in there, he would have been at the right height where that throw would have been right into Klein's hands if he put his hands up. But with Marshall, they were way too high, and I think that's part of the issue. Is I don't think the coaching staff really like drilled them together as a team, if that makes sense.
And then you got to let Haynes be the workhorse he is. I mean, you guys saw it. Like, yeah, he didn't get a whole lot of yards up in the first half against OU, but those 2 or 3 yards were that he would get were very physical yards. He earned every bit of them, and got up, with swag like, oh man, I'm ready to go. And then first play of the second half, 75 yards like it's nothing. You got to keep.
Well,
He
and
was
if you notice that play where he ran 75 yards, that was the first offensive formation we came out in with 2 tight ends.
yeah.
That was the first like we usually do that a lot, and we didn't do it at all the first half, and then immediately second half, the first time we come out with 2 tight ends, that's what happened.
So here's the thing with Haynes. On that play, and I'm not taking anything away from Haynes. He's a great running back. Your guys' offensive line is very physical, knows what they're doing. Um, but OU missed a assignment by a mile. Like number 22, Peyton Bowen. If he would have took the right angle, that was a tackle for a loss. And he overshot the angle, but credit Haynes because he's like, hey, I'm going to bounce this out and I'm going untouched because he's something that a lot of running backs aren't, and he's a north-south runner. He's not east and west. He don't have to dance around. He's going to get his head, moving forward, and then he's going to go get his 7, 8, 9, or in this case, 75 yards.
Right. Well, and the thing is that again, 2 tight ends. You look at a lot of the plays that we ran, the running plays prior to that, and even after that. And listen, as much as we like to get into the weeds and like the complexities of football and play calling, as far as the run game, oftentimes it just comes down to math. Do we have more blockers than they have tacklers in the box?
Right.
Or vice versa. And there were a lot of the run plays where, you guys had 6, 7 guys in the box and we had 4, 5, 6 tacklers. We didn't or blockers. We didn't have enough to block.
Right.
That run play, we had a blocker for each tackler matched up with the 2 tight ends out there.
Yeah, and a smart play by Haynes too. He was just because it could have been a loss, but he saw the hole. He's like, oh, he overshot. I'm gonna go ahead and just bounce this out, and I'm going for 75 like it's nothing.
Right. And my point with Haynes is that, how many of the offensive play calls where we called run plays were we taking a look at what the defense was showing in the box with defenders and then making the correct adjustments to put Haynes in a good position to be able to make a play? And how many were we just saying, fuck it, send it?
Yeah, a fair point. Yeah, because like I said, again, you got to go back to Bryce being comfortable. Like, was he I'm sure he is comfortable, but did they let him know, hey, be comfortable making those changes at the line of scrimmage when you see something with the defense?
Right, and that goes to what I've said all week about what I would like to see them do this week. With Sharon not there, I think we're going to see a lot of the stuff that Sharon has, for lack of a better term, vetoed in the last couple weeks with the Chip Lindsey offense. As far as like in-game play calling, and me personally, what I would want to see, and I'm not 100%, like I'm not really confident that we're going to see this, but if it were up to me, you go into this game this weekend with CMU, knowing that you can make mistakes and still win. And just you tell Bryce, listen, we're going to call the plays, and I expect you to play smart as far as throw the ball away when you need to, slide if you need to. But aside from that, go out there and play ball. Show us your instincts. Give us a reason to trust your instincts.
Right.
But just go out there and play ball.
And just let him prove, okay, let fans see, that's what Michigan fans are talking about. The number, okay, yeah, now we don't want to play him. I know it's CMU, but even then, he can still show the flashes of the potential that he has with his arm. I mean, I saw it. He was rolling out, full speed rolling out to the sideline and threw almost a 60-yard pass like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Against OU, and I'm like, God, Lee, that kid's got an arm. Like I'll be honest, I underestimated him, and I'm sure OU did in a sense, and in some capacity, but I still think we didn't get your guys' best version of the offense at all.
Well,
No,
and
I think you guys.
it's like what Bryce said a couple weeks ago in an interview. They haven't seen a freshman like me, and that's true. At the same time, he's still a freshman, and it was a second game.
And like I
Right.
told Lichemax when we were joking around, I was like, he's like, yo, Bryce is gonna light you guys up. I knew he was gonna get his, but I said, here's what's gonna be the difference. When he gets hit in the mouth, whether it's a sack or throws the ball and takes a hit or whatever the case is, once he faces that adversity, that's going to be the telltale. I thought he did well with it, but you could tell it rattled him a little bit.
Right.
I mean, the one good thing that happened is like when he did get hit, like it didn't rattle him as much as like a lot of people thought it might. Like
Right.
I know a lot of people thought that once he got hit the first time, then we'd start seeing a panicking freshman. But no, we didn't really see that. We saw like a short flash of that, but then he was right back to locked in.
Right, like a play or two, and then he's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. Now moving on from the Michigan CMU, LSU Florida. This that looks like a pretty interesting game, especially after both teams having had their struggles with lower tier opponents. Florida having actually lost to a lower tier opponent, now coming up against number 3 LSU.
I think you
Granted they have home field advantage, but yeah, it's LSU struggled in their game. Florida lost their game. Who do you think comes out of Florida the winner?
I think Florida, and I'll tell you why. We're going to see the true playmakers that they have, not only at quarterback, but the depth they have at running back, and then the speed that they have at wideout. I watched the entire LSU game last week when I think they played Louisiana Tech. I can't remember who they played, and Nussmeier did not look like a Heisman candidate. He was missing throws, overshooting them, not throwing them long enough. Uh, I think he completed. I think he was 25 of like 42 or 41, and didn't even eclipse 300 yards. Very underwhelming in my opinion, but it just depends on which. I think it's going to depend on quarterback play, and then it's going to depend on how deep the defense can create pressure like late in the game. Who's going to force that late turnover? Who's going to get a sack? Who's going to get an interception? And then you also got to look out for LSU special teams. They got the Anderson duo, Aaron Anderson and Nick Anderson. They both can return kicks if they need them to, and you saw that with Florida. They don't handle the adversity of like sneak plays, surprise plays very well. So I think it's just going to depend on the quarterback play and then defense.
Right.
How about you, Kinetik? Who do you got?
I mean, to me, these are two teams that are kind of going in similar but different directions in the sense that with LSU, you've got a senior quarterback who's been very much hyped up as this potential Heisman winner. I don't think Nussmeier is bad, but I don't think he's that good. The reality is Nussmeier probably didn't come back for his senior season last year if Bryce didn't flip from LSU. I think LSU, when Bryce flipped from LSU to Michigan, they turned to Nussmeier, gave him a bigger offer on NIL to come back for one more year, and he did it out of loyalty to the school. I think that Lagway, like I said, has all the potential in the world, and it has weapons around him, but just has a team that needs to play discipline. I don't think discipline is a problem for LSU, but I think that as far as quarterback, their ceiling is a little bit lower. Both teams have really good weapons, but I do kind of like the mentality and the grit of LSU a little bit more. I do like the Weeks brothers that plays for them. They're hometown kids that love the team. Their offensive line, defensive line, I don't see the same problems that I saw with Florida. So it just really, if I had to make a pick, I'm picking LSU in this. But again, Lagway does possess the ability that if the rest of his team sort of shores up their deficiencies from last week, he could elevate them. I just don't think that that's going to get fixed in 1 week.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think even I think after seeing the struggle with them, the struggle they faced in their what was supposed to be an easy game for them last week, I mean I don't foresee them coming to Florida's home and really like playing a great game. I mean, there's a chance that they could have buttoned up the mistakes they made from last week to this week, but it doesn't happen very often that you see that. I mean, there are a few teams that can pull that off, and it's usually it's when they make like minor mistakes that easily correctable, you know. But I mean, there were some big holes that LSU had to fix, and I think you're right. I think LSU put a lot of stock in getting Bryce Underwood, and they kind of panicked the last second when Bryce flipped and decided to offer Nussmeier a better deal to try to get him to stay, so that way they actually had a quarterback. Because I mean, looking at the roster, they didn't really have a great talent at quarterback, at least that are game ready,
Right.
other than Nussmeier. So like they kind of had to do that, otherwise they were going to have a season like what Michigan had last season, where they didn't have a quarterback and they were relying on like their special teams, their defense, and their running back to try to make up for the fact that they didn't have a quarterback. And I mean, I haven't seen much of the games, but I have seen like a couple highlights, and I mean, Nussmeier looked all right. I mean, still looked shaky as a senior. I definitely don't think he should be in conversation for a Heisman, but now, if you look on the other side, the Florida side, like they had a very shaky game against uh, USF. Like they ended up losing that game too, and I don't know, I don't know for sure if they just didn't play their starters or they just had a lot of holes and were trying things. But hopefully they have that stuff buttoned up coming into this LSU game, because LSU is not a team that you can just try new things out on. You gotta have your shit together when you come up against some of these bigger teams, and you definitely can't let them get away with a lot of the things that they let USF get away with. So I mean, if I had to look at it like based on like matching talent for talent, I'd kind of have to give LSU the edge in the game. Like, yeah, they're coming in as a away team. They're not playing at home. They're playing in Florida, and it's going to be Nussmeier going up against Lagway. But I gotta say, I think LSU kind of has a little bit more talent to be able to edge out Florida in the game. So I'd have to give the edge to LSU.
Yeah, I do. I will add this. I'm not a fan of saying this early in the season, but for Napier's sake, he's got to get a win.
Yeah, for sure.
I
Uh,
definitely think Napier's one of those guys that's like constantly on the hot seat.
Who do you think?
uh,
Who you guys think will go first between him and Gundy?
Venables.
No, honestly, I think it's Napier. I think Gundy's too entrenched at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I'd probably have to say Napier as well.
I think he went viral with the "I'm a man, I'm 40" thing too long ago for them to make a change now.
Right, right.
The next game that I have on the list is number 8 Notre Dame versus number 16 Texas A&M.
Ooh,
I think that's the talk of the week this week.
another young quarterback. Show glimpses of talent. Um, I think it's going to depend on really. Is Notre Dame going to play their style of ball? Physical, long, sustained drives. Or are they going to get in a shootout with A&M? And I
Right.
think that might hurt them because that's where Carr's going to make mistakes because again he's young and Texas A&M is one of those teams they have talent everywhere. They'll take advantage of it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. What do we got next, Lichemax?
Well, I got to give my thoughts on the game too. I think
Oh, okay.
so this game is putting Notre Dame's C.J. Carr up against Texas A&M's Marcel Reed. I think is it Marcel or Marcus? I can't
Marcel.
remember exactly.
Yeah,
Marcel.
Marcel.
I was right the first time. Good. I got a name right the first time. That's a first. It's a first. Um, but I think if Notre Dame plays their style of ball, they play the like you said, the long sustained drives. I think they can wear A&M out to potentially open up for some of the other type of plays that Notre Dame likes to run. But if Notre Dame tries to get into a shootout with A&M, I honestly I don't know if Marcel Reed is actually up to that kind of a task. Like, yeah, they have talent all over the field. They got Concepcion, they have Niblak, like great receivers, great tight end. Um, they have a good secondary. Not entirely sold on their trench game though. Like that offensive line I think kind of looks a bit shaky, and that defensive line doesn't really look much better, at least in my eyes. Like Notre Dame does have uh, kind of have talent all over, but the one thing that I think is going to kind of edge out the fact that Notre Dame wins is I think A&M is just going to want it more, and they're a team that when they want something, they're going to try to go for it. But they are also known as the team of choking too, so it's kind of hard to like pick one or the other. But if we just go purely based on talent matched up with talent, I'd have to give A&M the edge.
Is it in College Station or South Bend?
Oh, you know what? That actually is a good point. I think it's in College Station.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. I'm going A&M 27, Notre Dame 17.
Kinetic, what do you have on between Notre Dame and Texas A&M?
I'm gonna go the other way here. I think that this will be. I think that the Irish want to make a statement, and they need to if they're going to have any hope of making the playoffs this year. After their loss to Miami, they're going to need to have a statement win, especially if it's on the road over a top team. And because I think that if they don't, their season's kind of over to an extent as far as their prospects for the end of the season. I think that they're going to go in with the mentality that it's a must-win game for them, and I don't think it's a must-win game for Texas A&M. And I think that they've got a lot of big games coming up on their schedule with the SEC. I think they might get caught sort of looking ahead of this game. I don't know what the score will be. I can't really call it a score on this one.
Well, that is unless you have something that you want to cover as well, Kinetic.
No, I mean I think we're good as far as the college football goes. I just want to give a shout out to my Vikings and JJ McCarthy for this past Monday.
Oh yeah, JJ and did a miraculous comeback in the fourth quarter with the Vikings.
You wouldn't know that he was essentially a rookie because he didn't play last year. That fourth quarter was insane.
Hold on, let me. I actually saved something and then forgot to bring it up just now. Like it's ridiculous. Okay, the things that well maybe I didn't save it. Never mind.
Well, I mean, a lot of people were saying coming up in the season, I was one of them, that there were a lot of questions with JJ McCarthy. And I've said it all the way up until like this opening game that there were questions.
And who was telling you that there weren't questions on JJ and that you shouldn't doubt him? Who was it that was telling you?
I think that was Kinetik.
Yeah, it was. But what I said was, I want to wait until he plays a game before I make any concrete decisions. I said I question his ability, especially at coming back from injury, but I want to see him in a game first before I make that a definitive decision. I have now seen him in the game, and I can for sure say that if that is his worst, it is only uphill from here.
I mean, listen, it takes on average not just rookies, but like, and I'm still trying to find that graphic, but quarterbacks starting their first game, it takes on average 3 to 4 games for them to get used to the speed of the game and to get their feet under them as a quarterback. It took JJ 3 quarters after not having played a full speed competitive football game in 20 months to the day And that was the national championship from 2023. I've tried to tell you and everybody else that there were not questions about him, that he's going to be a great quarterback, that you don't have to see it in a regular season game to be able to spot the greatness. I tried to tell you all that, and all I kept hearing is, but he hasn't played in a regular season game yet. Doesn't matter. Every indicator was there for the people that actually paid attention. He has every physical trait that you could want, despite Colin Cowherd trying to say that he has no traits. And more importantly, he has and I've said this literally since before he got drafted, he has every intangible that you could ever ask for with a starting franchise quarterback, and you can't teach it. The mental fortitude, the leadership, the charisma, the ability to command a room. He's 22 years old and was voted by his team as a captain. I'm telling you right now, it's not because he's a quarterback. 9 out of 10 young quarterbacks have to prove themselves over 3 to 4 years before they ever get, if ever, that they get voted as a captain by their teammates. And this is a very veteran team. The vast majority of his teammates have been in the league 8, 10, 12, 13 years. And he was voted a captain for a reason. He has so much more moxie than any young quarterback. I don't know if you've heard the story, but the other night he comes into the huddle at the start of the fourth quarter, and everyone's tense, everyone's like stressed out because of how the game's going, and he says to the huddle, "Where else would you guys rather be? Would you guys rather be anywhere else but here right now?" And I know that sounds so silly to people that don't understand, but it was able to break the tension and juice the rest of his teams up, by Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones' own words, because the guy leading them was not bothered. He was ready. He was locked in and ready to go back out there and win the game. And he did that. That's something you don't get in most young quarterbacks, and especially not in a 22-year-old quarterback.
Right. Well, with that said, I think we can get out of here. Kinetik, tell the people where they can find you.
Everywhere on all social media platforms at Kinetik615, and on my YouTube at Kinetik615 and at Kinetik615 Plays for my gaming streams. I will be on the Final Whistle Network tomorrow morning for a college football panel on YouTube, so check that out. And I'll be here. I don't want to guarantee it, and it'll probably be last minute when I put them up, but I might do watch-alongs for the Michigan CMU game and for the Vikings-Falcons game Sunday.
So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. Big T Johnson, do you have any socials that you want people to follow you at?
No, not yet. I'm kind of new to the game, but I would like to be on more. I have a very open mind when it comes to football in general, and I like to have the open discussions and get the feedback from everyone. So I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, for sure. We do these every Friday, Football Friday. We're gonna try to kind of mix it up as best as we can between the NFL and the in college. So moving forward, I mean, if you're more than welcome to come back on, I'm sure people will like a third voice rather than just hearing
and having
me and
someone
Kinetik.
that's not echoing the Michigan fandom takes, because don't get me wrong, I believe everything I say, but it is a homer take in some cases, so having someone else, a different voice, wouldn't be bad.
Right.
There's a reason you guys are the winningest program in college football history.
That's true.
So rightfully so.
Well, and as for me, you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and on YouTube at
It's called
Lichemax.
X now, sir.
I don't care. X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. It's a website. Anyway, you can find me at Lichemax626 on my YouTube and Twitch. I do college football and Madden gameplay videos where I do online dynasties and franchises. So make sure you check that out. Gonna also look into maybe doing my own takes on stuff. Just random. Anyway, check it out. You'll like it. You can also find me right here on the Gamer's Sideline on Fridays and Saturdays, and whenever we do the watch-alongs, I'll pop in. You can also find me over at the Maze Madman channel, where I produce the Maze Out Mondays and host Lich Picks over there at the Maze Madman channel. And as for us, we are going to get out of here. So remember to cheer loud, play hard, and join us back next time at the Sideline.
From joystick dreams to Friday night lights, it's controllers and cleats under podcast mics with Lichemax dropping deep like he's throwing a bomb, and Kinetik calling audible, staying calm in the storm. From the field to the sticks, yeah, we bring the heat. With Kinetik and Lichemax, never miss a beat. When the final whistle blows or the credits roll, we're signing off strong, that's our gamers take control. Catch us on the sideline, where legends chill, where the playbooks flip and the passion's real. If you heard the takes, then you know the drill. Till next time, fam, keep it clutch, keep it skill. From the field to the sticks, yeah, we bring the heat. With Kinetik and Lichemax, never miss a beat. When the headset's off and the lights go low, we'll be back next game, y'all already know. We out.